Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to GeekVerse Review. I'm Travis Snail, and we got a good one today. It's been a year since a DC movie. I warn you right out of the gate. This is a non-episode GeekVerse episode because this is a non-spoilers review. I'm gonna be doing a spoilers review with the rest of the guys and possibly Gal with us. When does it come out? Next week. So yeah, there's going to be no spoilers here. I'm going to give you my pros, my cons, a score, my overall thoughts. But don't worry, I'm not going to tell you what type of fish he rides, even though he rides a lot of fish. But yeah, so don't worry about that. I'm excited to talk about this film with all the rest of the geeks, because there's quite a bit of things to talk about in this movie, and I will talk about them non-spoiler way in a second. Go check out our non-spoiler Spider-Verse review. Check out tomorrow. We should be dropping a Deadpool Once Upon a Time review, because yes, that movie is technically kind of out, but it's got some new footage, so we're going to go see it, enjoy it, hope you like it. There's a Mowgli review I just dropped. That movie was, go listen to the review. And then next week is Bumblebee. It's Aquaman spoilers review. We got lots of stuff dropping right now. We got a Smash tournament happening December 16th, as far as I know. It shouldn't be moving this time, but December 16th. Tune into our Twitch and YouTube channels. It's going to be really good. It's kicking off our Season 3 gauntlet. Technically, it's kind of in between, but yeah, check that out. We're going to be having some fun with Smash Ultimate. So, to get the plugs that way, and that brutal cough, I've been sick for weeks, and it is just going in and out. And I work outside. I live in Canada. I've been traveling a lot, so I've not had any downtime. But you know what? I have some downtime. Let's talk about Aquaman. I'm going to stop being a cock tease right now. Aquaman. So, to perhaps give you some history, I'm a big DC Comics fan. I'm a big Marvel fan. Comics is my favorite form of entertainment. I was introduced them early on to by my dad and my grandma. I remember one day when I went over there, she just went to like some bargain store or something like that, where it's just like they give away comics or whatnot, and just had a stack of them. So I've been a fan of comics my whole life, but I can say I've not been the biggest Aquaman fan. I've read a few issues here and there. I've been more associated with him, or familiar with him. I wish I was associated with him in the Justice League. I've been more of a reader of him in crossovers or Justice League. So I've never been a hardcore fan. I never jumped on the Jeff Johns run that people loved, and I want to one day. I've read little bits of it here and there, but never been a massive fan, never been a hater. Like, you never been like, oh, Aquaman's a joke, but he's just never been my guy. So that was one thing that I wasn't too excited about. And then, neck cracks too. Which do I want to go first? So, with the DCU, obviously we've had a long road, and to give you that, you can go back on our many cast hero reviews, but to give you the flat-out report card, loved Wonder Woman. Lots of comic book films have come out since then, but when that came out, I think it was a top 15 comic book movie. Might be top 20 still, I don't know, I have to do the official ranking. Look, I liked BVS, but I had a lot of problems with it, like tons of problems. Justice League, I thought was one of the most bland movies in the world, and that's where, to me, if you're one of these like fanboys, fangirls that have like a hashtag release the Snyder Cut in your Twitter name, like you're one of those losers, sorry, this review might not be for you. That's not saying I dislike this film, but I grade all the superhero films on a righteous curve. I don't blindly just follow, because it's Batman, I'm getting this, and because that Snyder Cut probably never existed, and if it did, it probably wasn't that good. But Justice League has the problems. Super bland, just not even terrible, not even great, just somewhere, just super forgettable movie I'll never watch again. And I extremely dislike Man of Steel and Suicide Squad for very different reasons, but I did not like those movies. I think Man of Steel is a good technically made movie, or Suicide Squad is not, but I dislike them a lot for separate reasons. Check out our reviews, and Man of Steel, you could hit me up on Twitter, because we've said we're never going to review that until we hit 1,000 subscribers, because lots of us don't like that movie. So, that's my history with the DCU. So, obviously, it's been a bumpy road. I don't know what to expect there as far as track record. As far as this movie, I was very excited. I liked Momoa in Justice League, but I didn't have enough to love him, but I thought there's potential there. And I was really pulling for it until I saw the trailers. And I was still pulling for it, but at Comic-Con, and they released a couple months ago, they were not doing it for me. So I'm not the biggest Aquaman fan. The trailers weren't doing it for me. But the thing I could hang my hat on is I love James Wan. I'm a huge Saw fan. We did a Saw retrospective. We reviewed every single one. Check that out. I fell in love with him as a director since then. I really liked Insidious. And Conjuring, I argue, is... I don't even think this decade. I think it's legit a top 10 horror movie. It might be like 9 or 10, but it's up there. So James Wan, and I liked his Fast and Furious, who he had to do a lot of work on with that tragedy having Paul Walker. So I can always hang my hat on that as all this other stuff isn't giant for me, but I love James Wan, and I've been saying that since day one, that James Wan making a superhero film, I'm excited. And you know what? I'm pleasantly surprised to say that I really, really liked it. I really did. I had a great time with it. There's a lot of enjoyment to be had with this movie, but there's things that keep it from being really good to great. As far as the pros, we'll get in that. Let's start off on a positive. Momoa. I am now in love with him because my biggest worry was he was going to be way too bro-y, and he's not. He's a cool guy in this movie. He has charisma at the fucking yin-yang. He could talk any man or woman into bed. He's super good looking. He's the type of guy that when he just looks at something, he has charisma. He's acting, because it's like, you know how in Nightmare on Elm Street, well, Freddy is like half the job is the makeup, and it's like he's scary when you just look at him. Momoa is just charismatic when you just look at him. So he has a great look, but he's really good. There's some emotional scenes in here that he did a good job. I don't know if they were like world class where he had to be, like a Oscar winning performance, but he pulled it out when he needed to. But to me, it was his acting, but it was also the writing of the character. I was very worried in every trailer. Justice League, he's very bro-y, but I'm fine with that now in retrospect because it's, a solo character, but I didn't know if I could stand 2.5 hours of this bro-y guy. It's the same way I feel with The Flash, which I don't know if I don't think I could at all, but same with Ezra Miller's Flash. I was like, I can't spend 2.5 hours with this guy. Aquaman, I was more in the middle, like, okay, let's see, but if he's just really bro-y all the time, because every trailer he's just like, yeah, oh yeah, badass, like, that's just not the character I look for. I don't look for I like cool characters on a team, or I like watching cool people, but them just, acting like a college jock doesn't do it for me. I don't find that as cool. But he has that, but it's very held back. So I really appreciate that. And even some stuff, this is a case for the trailer, for lots of other people getting people excited, it's getting me like less excited, and they edited it that way because there's things in this movie that happen in a certain way, or characters are portrayed. I'm like, oh, in the trailer they made it this way, and I prefer this a lot more as far as the film. So I was pleasantly surprised with that. He was great. He's the type of guy that I'm gonna enjoy watching on many other adventures as Aquaman. Hopefully we get them. Another big surprise to me was Amber Heard, because Amber Heard in Justice League is not good. It's one scene, but I remember seeing that, I was like, woof. And not because I had a problem with the Force, the Phantom Menace bubbles. I know some people are like, oh, Aquaman, they should be talking underwater. I didn't care. I understood that, okay, might be the way they're going to go. I just remember that scene being very awkward and her being very stiff. But she was good, and they had good chemistry. I'm excited to see more of them together. I think their dynamic together, I think it worked really well. I think there's some aspects of it that are a little bit rushed. This movie it feels like it happens pretty, like, I'm trying not to be too specific, but it happens in a small time period, I would say. And a lot of things go by really quick, and I'll get that in my cons. But for the chemistry they had, I really liked them. There's some really fun and like quirky scenes they have together. This is a weird movie in a good and bad way, but the weird stuff they do with them really works. And yeah, I was surprised because I've not seen much of her, and the stuff I have seen, she's been fine, and I've been like, wow, Amber Heard, she can really bring it. I don't think this is one of these, like, wow, a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, but she does a solid job. She does a really good job, and she's in there quite a bit, and she never feels like the sidekick. They both get hero moments, they both get moments to stand out. She never just feels like, oh, it's Aquaman, and she kind of is there just to help. I think you could flesh out her character a bit more in the future, but I don't know if this story warranted that. The story was just more of an adventure, and I think you learn enough, so I think they had good chemistry, and I was surprised by what they did. I almost caught myself. I was going to say something, spoiler. I was pleasantly surprised with what she brought to the table, because I was not expecting much. I was not expecting much of her and him to have great chemistry, just because that wasn't feeling in Justice League. Yeah, it's only one scene, but still, sometimes you feel like people got it and they don't, so that was all I had to base off, was a first impression, right? So she was really good. Before I get into villains, Willem Dafoe is really good. He's fantastic, but Willem Dafoe is always that way, but he is great as his mentor in a sense, and a trainer, and they have a good back and forth, and I wish there was a bit more in there, but I really like him as Volko. I always can never say his dad's name. The guy who played Jango Fett, Tamira Morrison. I have it up here. I think that's how you say it. He's good I don't want to say anything spoiler. I wanted more from that character. I don't think I got enough of him and Arthur's relationship in this movie. Nicole Kidman, badass this movie. Great to see her. You know, Batman Forever. It's been a long time. It's great to see her back in a DC movie. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I'm going to talk about for now. Other pros: visuals and action. Visuals from not even just like the way Black Manta looks, the way Ocean Master looks. This looks like a comic book ripped out of the page and put on screen. Very much like we talked about in our Spider-Verse review. This is the exact same thing. This feels like a comic book. This is visually stunning as far as the costumes, but there are quite a bit of shots and quite a bit of set pieces that really rival. I'm trying to think of like what would be the best visually stunning. Like, I think from a world perspective, this is better and cooler looking than Wakanda. That's because Wakanda is not underwater and doesn't have this glowing stuff. But there are certain costumes that these people are wearing, not even comic book costumes, just outfits that wearing that make the world really unique. And that's another big another big pro is the world feels unique. Where in Justice League it felt so dark and so blunt and so boring. This movie does do a good job of world building. I think they could have used it a little bit more as far as history and maybe some laws and whatnot, because the villain, it shows in the trailer he wants to take war on the Earth dwellers, and I think he has to deal with a lot of other kings and kingdoms, and I feel like they could have established that a bit better. But as far as Atlantis, that was really cool. They give the people a little, I want to see more of like the culture of Atlanta. That's Donald Glover's show, but Atlantis. But I think that can happen more in the future. I like what they did there, but the shots, there's certain ones you have seen in the trailers, but they are stunning. The colors, the imagery, the balance of using characters in the right spot, and like I said, there's just things that look like a comic book mural or painting. It's off the charts. It is prequel level, but in a good way. Where for me, sometimes the prequels didn't work as like, okay, let's not talk about the quality of these movies, but there are some great ideas and really cool things George made, but it was just, this doesn't feel like it fits in a Star Wars movie. Everything that happens in this movie or you see feels like it fits in this movie, and that's the biggest thing, that they are going for a certain type of tone. It is a very comic booky. The best way I described to somebody I was talking to is, it's like an anime DC movie, or like we do the Spider-Man animated show. It's like a cartoon come to life. Because there is some moments that are very over the top, but they accept it. This is a minor spoiler, but an octopus at one point is playing drums. That's the type of movie you're going to get. And it's in a way where that's just a known thing. It's just fact. But the thing is, I thought they did a good enough job with the world, that these visuals that were great and stunning, that stood out, even the action stuff, I'll get into in a second, all the action stuff visually is really good as well. It all fits in this world, so the visuals, fantastic. Some of the best visuals, at least I've seen this year. I'd have to think about comic movies all general, but I think the last time this really stood out to me was like the first Guardians. Guardians 2 had great visuals, but just some of the imagery they use with those characters and some of the set pieces, even though it's CGI, it looks very good. The CGI on some of the aging of the actors is kind of good and bad. Some really work, and some kind of stand out as, this is clearly not this guy. This is clearly CGI. So, the biggest thing for me, I think so. I think it's my biggest pros, and probably the action. I guess my biggest pro would be Momoa and her, just because they surprised me, and the characters surprised me. But the action, every set piece was different, and it had great choreography. That's my biggest thing, especially like the last battle, I won't get into, but there's a good 25 minute battle, and it feels big, and I like set pieces. My least favorite thing, I love the first Thor. My least favorite thing is the fight between Loki and Thor at the end. Is probably a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, and it's very quick, and for me it's very lame, because you have these two gods with these mega powers who could do something, and it's just over so fast. This movie does not do that, not just with the final battle, but with other people, whether they're versing goons, whether they're versing Manta. They make every action scene count, and that's why I like that. It feels like a set piece. It feels like every time, and it feels like in a video game that's a boss level. Every time there's action about to happen, you buckle up and go, oh, I'm in store for something good. It's not just like, okay, a bunch of shooting, they ran away, a bunch of shooting, one punch. Like, they give these guys some really cool moves. They make them use their powers in unique ways. Mir has this one scene that is fantastic. So they really doubled down on the action. The visuals are great, but for me, action in a comic movie, you gotta make that stand out, because there's so many of them. The visuals look great, and they didn't have to look that great, but the thing is, I would kind of hope to expect something great or something different, because it's underwater, right? You're expecting to see a bunch of fish fighting, or a bunch of, like, you've seen that shot in the trailer where I won't spoil what characters, but there's a red light, characters holding a red light, they're going down the water, and all these like crazy sea urchins or whatnot are following them. Stuff like that, that's the stuff where James Wan comes like, oh, let's do something really cool with that. But the visuals as far as being underwater, which I'll mention, that didn't bug me at all. Them talking underwater felt flawless. I never got taken out of it, so kudos to them. But the action, every set piece to me actually stands out as being different. Characters fight differently, and they use their powers in a good, unique way. That's a big thing too. Is sometimes people forget, like, superheroes, what defines them is okay, their character, but then after that, their costume. But then after that is their powers. And at the end of the day, we all just want to be kids and be like, that was cool. They do moments like that. That was cool. Everybody gets a really good action scene as far as your main cast. So I was pleasantly surprised about that again because actually I wasn't surprised about that because I think I was turned when they showed that 5-minute scene or that 5-minute trailer months ago when they had that like Bourne Identity running scene with Manta and Mera and Aquaman. So I really enjoyed the action. So cast is really good. The villains, they're in my cons, but I'd say acting-wise, both do a fantastic job, so I'll talk about them. But my pros, cast, really good, and some surprises. Action, big time. Great set pieces, great action, great standout action, some really fun moments. Visuals, and then I'll get into my cons, and then I'll move, and I'll say the world building as well, but then this is where it moves in my cons a bit, where this one's a middle con, is comedy for me was actually good. It wasn't a Marvel-like quippy. There's some quips that's going to happen probably in comedy-wise, but I always worry that that's what they happened in Justice League for me. It felt like they were trying to make a Marvel movie, where this didn't feel like this. This felt like, yeah, it had heart and humor, but it didn't feel like a rip-off of a quip per second. I think the jokes were placed well. I'd say jokes, for me, maybe worked like a 65, 35, somewhere in there. Like, I didn't laugh at everything, but I think more humor worked than it didn't, so that's good. The cheesiness of it is where I think they go for it on purpose. It's not one of these things where it's if you've seen Venom, it's like that. They know what type of movie they're making, and they're going for it. They've decided this is the tone, this is the world we want, and let's do it. It works for the most part, but there are some glaring, which I'll talk about when we do spoilers next week. There's some glaring ones for me that really stood out. There's one in particular that was really tough for me, and it was like cringy. It was some use of licensed music I did not like. It is not, like I said, nowhere near Venom where it's slapsticky. It's just they know what they're making, and if it is kind of a cheesy, almost like Flash Gordon sort of thing, for the most of the time it works, but there's times where it doesn't. And I think it's the thing where this film could... This is a film that I think can be all sorts of reactions to. I don't think it's a love-hate. I don't think it's, oh, people will be in the middle. I think you could love this movie. I think you'd really dislike this movie. I think you could be somewhere in the middle. I'm somewhere in the higher end, but somewhere like myself where, oh yeah, I really liked it, but I had some problems with it. And my problems to me are not as big as BVS, where it's just like, there's some really bad editing and writing problems. I have some of those problems with this movie, but they're not to the same degree as BVS, where it was just so... Honestly, some things were so atrocious. It was like, why did you go this route? And that's me saying that about a movie I really like. So, some of the cheesiness doesn't work. Pacing is good in the movie. I think some of the storylines and some of the concepts are rushed. I never felt bored during the movie. I was having a good time. I kept going and going. But there's certain things and certain storylines that they resolve very quickly, or they introduce very quickly, or they turn around and make it like, I won't say a twist, but they'll change characters' motivations very quickly, and it just, that's where it feels a little old school, generic comic booky, and I could say that's a con. I think it's kind of generic. I think the things that make it fun are the action, the visuals, and the characters, but as far as a story, it's not like, but it's not something like Spider-Verse where you're dealing with multiple Spider-Man. It's not Infinity War where it's this end of a franchise, and it shouldn't be. But it's something like Black Panther where it's covering race themes and themes about people being suppressed. I think this is kind of like an Ant-Man sort of situation, and I loved Ant-Man where it's just, okay, there's a MacGuffin, there's something we gotta get, let's do this, and, fall A, B, and C. So I think it's very basic. I think that's what it needed for its first movie, but it doesn't blow you away, or it didn't blow me away. The story's great. No, and that's where sometimes where the story could have been great, and that's where it falters. And my biggest con, and there could be some more, is the villains. So start off on a positive. Their performances are very good. Both Patrick Wilson and Oh boy, I knew I was gonna get some of this when I saw him in Baywatch. Yahya Abdul Mateen. I'm gonna say Mateen so I don't offend him anymore. Really good performances and really good foundations. My problems with the villains is there was so much potential and it was left on either the cutting room floor or the writing floor or in someone's mind, because the introduction to both these characters are done really well. And I was thinking, you kind of have your tiers of heroes, right? Your A pluses to me are someone that just goes above and beyond. So you got like your Heath Ledger's Joker. I would throw Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, a Thanos, a Killmonger, a Loki. Those are kind of like your A pluses, right? People that have great actors and they have great motivations. You completely, I feel like, are fully fleshed out. So it checks every box. And then you kind of have your A tier, which are just below that. And then there's the B tier. As far as Black Man is tough, so I'm not going to talk about him. As far as Ocean Master, he had a chance to be in that A tier. I don't think he was going to be in the A plus tier, but he was he was going up there. He was going to be one of my favorite villains as far as a comic book movie, as far as, he really stood out, he did a good job, and he could grow into something greater if they would ever want to use him again or come back to this. He was growing into something really strong, and then it gets kind of comic booky, and that's where I feel that some of the stuff is rushed there, and that's also where they decided what should we put our attention to, and the villains were not. The villains are what get very generic. Ocean Master and his plan are very generic in the sense of that's the problem, because the plot line is, and you've seen it from the trailer, he wants to take war to the human, the earth dwellers, right, land dwellers, and they say this in the trailer, like they've been polluting us for years, everything like that. It starts off good, and it starts off not generic, and then it turns into him being generic, and it's very disappointing, and I'll talk more about that in spoilers, but I feel like they had a home run ready, and it's just like, they hit the ball and the bat broke, and then it only got them to second base, something. I'm not great with baseball analogies, but it was set up really well, and Patrick Wilson does a good job. I love Patrick Wilson. He's very underrated, but I was really disappointed, and there's some moments that they're doing, because obviously they're brothers, and there's some moments they had in between them saying things that could have been great, but then got very old school, early 2000s comic booky, where it's instead of going for some heart, they kind of went for more of the badass. And that's not even just the Momoa stuff where he's just being a badass and broy. It's just they couldn't decide what they want to do with this character. He's like the tale of two cities, and I won't say what type of character he is, but for some of the movie he's character A, and some of the movie he's character B, and it's not some sort of twist. I just never felt they understood what they want to do with them. And Black Man is in this movie. He's really good, really cool, but I can't say more. But I don't think he needed to be in this movie. I think he could have been used a lot better. I think that he was kind of a waste opportunity, other than he gets some cool moments and the actor does a good job. His voice, I'll say that I wasn't the biggest fan of, and it's funny because I've never been a problem with Bane's voice or Batman's voice in the Nolan series. I wish it was just a little deeper, and it's weird because at times, I'm going to watch it again because I want to see these visuals on the Kelowna's biggest screen we have here. I might change again when I see it one more time, because there's times it was deeper, but there's times it felt really high pitched, so that's just a minor thing. But yeah, those were my biggest cons, were the villains, because I think that's what keeps this movie from being great, and some other cheesy stuff, because I could see this movie not working for a lot of people. And as far as getting into my overalls here, I think this movie is a mix between the Star Wars prequels, Lord of the Rings, and Indiana Jones. And the thing is, I think sometimes that goes really well, and I think other times it clashes. For me, it did not clash that much, and I was like, oh, this is really feeling weird. But I could see some people not liking it. It is feeling a little old schooly comic booky, where some of the dialogue, kind of like what people were talking about with Venom. This feels a bit more of comic book movies of yesteryear. I don't think like Venom, the whole movie felt like that. I think this movie has moments where it feels a little cheesy and a little out there. But like I said, they're kind of going for that. So you might really enjoy that. I enjoyed some parts, and I could go past it where we're dealing with kings and an ocean, but it doesn't feel at times as modern as other ones. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm excited to see it again. As far as where it ranks as far as comic book films for me, it's probably second last. Venom's definitely last. But that's saying that in a great year. To me, that is its thing, is it is a more basic, generic comic book movie, but what makes it less basic is what I said earlier, the action, some of the character moments, the visuals. The action, the visuals to me is what really stands out, makes it a great time. If the action was poor, the visuals were poor, and the CGI looked great to me, I think this would have been hurt a lot more. But I think everyone does a good performance. The visuals are there. The action's definitely there. And I think you can go back. I'm not even a huge action guy in most movies, but I do look for it in my comic book movies because I feel like that's a great way to stand out, is to make a character feel different. And the action scenes feel different. They feel different than what they did in Wonder Woman or BVS, so that's good. Yeah, this is a movie I'm excited to see other people's reaction to it, because I feel like I said, it's a movie that I see a lot of people really liking, a lot of people going, this was too cheesy for me, it's too out there, not for me. I can see people absolutely loving, because it does feel like a comic book adventure just on the screen. This score could change. I think it could go higher. I don't think it's going to go lower, but I'm going to stick with a safe 7 right now. It could be a 7.5. I don't know if it could be an 8. But I'm going to watch it one more time. I'm going to see it next week again for the spoilers. I'm excited to see it on Cologne. We have like not an IMAX, but kind of an IMAX. It's extreme, and I just want a fucking IMAX. Yeah, I'm excited to see it again. I'm excited to see it with my friends and see what their reactions to it. I think DC, if they can make more movies like this, I'll take them. I'm very that's the thing. It sounded like I had a lot of cons, but really, I had a fun time watching this. I was enjoying myself from start to finish. There were some really good moments too. There's some ones that, it took me out, but if DC started to make more movies like this, as far as their bigger ones, Birds of Prey, Shazam, I'm in for it. Obviously, with Joker coming out next year, I'm expecting something different, but I really enjoyed this movie, and I'd like to see more of Aquaman 2, and I want to see more of what DC got's going on. I think James Wan did a very good job. Yeah, I got some cons, but really, I think they can be changed in the future. So I think as far as recommend this, I think if you're watching this review, you're probably gonna go see it. I'm trying to think why I wouldn't recommend it. I say go see it. I think there's gonna be something out there for everybody, and I think even if you don't like it, I think it could be one of those movies that end up being so bad, so good. I know that sounds weird, but just from the cheesiness of it, you might still find some enjoyment of it. I don't think it's a lifeless, boring movie where it's like, that was nothing, go see the movie. So thank you very much for checking out our review. All the links for our podcast are in the description. You can go to YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, the whole shebang. If you like what we do here, head over to Patreon and give us $5, give us $1. We got lots of content up there exclusively on the page. Earlier, got our 2019 movie preview, our biggest episode, or our longest episode, and really fun episode. And if you can't support us there, that's completely fine. It's Christmas. Go over to iTunes, YouTube, subscribe, like, rate, review. That helps us. It helps us grow the channel. It helps us get more fans, and it helps us get more people to talk to, because that's the other thing. Let me know if you've seen the movie, because they've done a lot of fan screenings. Let me know what you thought about it. If you have any questions non-spoiler, if you haven't seen it, ask them. Yes, there's an end credit scene, but clearly I'm not going to talk about that today. What was I going to say? So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, and until next time, don't let it be boring.